Age is scary. Time is scary. Worse still is that neither of them can be stopped, no matter how hard you try. Wow, this new moisturizer I'm using has anti-aging properties. We're all gonna die! But as time goes on, we slowly learn who we are. We learn what we're made of in a less than literal sense. And we also learn what we aren't. No good has ever come from trying to be something that you think people want you to be. Just ask me in university. Who am I? So when it comes to something as globally recognized as Call of Duty, you would expect after the 20 years that they've existed, that they would know what they are. Surely this series, of all series, has got its identity down pat. Right? Well, who am I? Call of Duty has had a real problem with its identity and has done for like at least 10 years, and it's kind of getting worse. But if we're gonna poke holes in Call of Duty's identity today, we first need to understand what Call of Duty's identity was in the first place. Now, before I start this video, anybody who has been following this channel for a while will know that I have talked about Call of Duty before, and not in the best of lights.
Is this a hot take?
But if you watch those videos, I'm sure you can kind of tell I am, and have been since like 2008, a massive Call of Duty fan. I even played Call of Duty World at War Final Frontiers because I didn't have an Xbox. I hate seeing you like this. And that is why this is an intervention.
You can't do this to me. Do you know who I am?
Actually, I can, and did. And also, you just sat in a big old glue trap, my guy. So, you're not going anywhere until I'm done. So what the hell was Call of Duty, and where did it all go sideways? Well, to answer that question, we need to go back in time once again. Whoa!
Bravo 6, we're on our way out! On your feet, soldier! We are leaving!
So here we are in 2003. I mean, technically right here, right now, we're in 1942. And for the most part in Call of Duty's early history, this is kind of where we would stay. Both me in the here and the now, and the game, the present day. Does that make sense? No. When Call of Duty was first about, we had a campaign split into 3 different fronts. There was also a multiplayer too, because the first Call of Duty released on PC and Mac OS only. So, sorry PlayStation guys, you're gonna have to wait and keep playing your Mr. P. I don't know, unless you've got something like a Nokia N-Gage, because the first Call of Duty game modes to exist in multiplayer were Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, Search and Destroy, Headquarters, and 2 that you might not recognize the name of, Behind Enemy Lines, which is a sort of survive until you can't kind of join, and Retrieval, which is just Search and Destroy rules, but it's capture the flag. Back in 2003, just this many game modes were seen as plenty because other online ventures didn't always have that much to offer, which was the style at the time. So after Call of Duty came Call of Duty 2. And then came Call of Duty 3. And then just like a whole bunch of spin-offs, like, holy shit, PSP, you're on this as well? Oh, he's trying. It's not very good. 3 mainline World War II shooters. Call of Duty 2 choosing to ditch Behind Enemy Lines, but keeping everything else. Call of Duty 3 basically doing the same thing, but with a different coat of paint. Quick question, does everybody know if is he good? Is he meant to do that? It's at this point that fans were getting a little bit bored of the COD formula, and also World War II as a whole. Because burger good, but burger for every meal? You know, they say that life can be anything that you want it to be. Mine is full of loose bowel movements. Wartime campaign, centric on heroism. Multiplayer with the same modes but different maps. Mixed in with the other World War II shooter games that were floating around at the time, and people just wanted something different until Infinity Ward turned around and said, absolutely not, that's disgusting. I'm not a banjo and a gun, I don't know what to tell about this. Yeah! Call of Duty Modern Warfare releases in 2007, and it completely flips the script from the previous Call of Duty formula, because we're going to do away with all those nasty German boys and their funny mustache man. You know, the one that waves a lot. Modern Warfare makes a shift for a few reasons, not just because of the change of scenery. The campaign had a much more cinematic feeling to it and felt far more dramatic and gripping than the paint-by-numbers war stories of yesteryear. The multiplayer even got a massive overhaul with all of these modes included. There was a brand new perk system. There was a class system. This is the first point in Call of Duty's history where it had established itself against competition as a competent military arcade shooter. But for the most part, in terms of personality, there wasn't a great deal except for the kind of entry prizes that you get when you play the game. This was very much the same for Call of Duty World at War. Strap in, boys, we're going back to World War II, but not how you remember. Just a lot of legs and arms flying around. And this time out, we also get Zombies mode, which I talked about extensively in this video. Call of Duty had established itself as a favorite shooter across a bunch of platforms by this point for a few reasons. The campaign, which was usually just the same thing of shoot your way from point A to point B, but the story that was being told was entertaining enough and gripping enough for you to just kind of march on and do what you were told. The multiplayer. By this point, the variety in maps and game modes were giving the game a much more complete package, with some extra modes that would come along the way with Call of Duty Black Ops, Wager Mode, Sticks and Stones, One in the Chamber, Gun Game, COD Points, customizable emblems, which some people probably thought was a mistake, but it gave the player personality, and we're going to come back to that, so let's just put a pin in that. Why is it bleeding? A theater mode, which would let you relive your epic gamer moments, sync them up to Linkin Park and fart them out on YouTube, like I did. And it was the first COD to have interactive map elements, which, fair enough, they weren't super in-depth. Wow! Look at that door close. And obviously, who could forget the extra modes? Treyarch introducing zombies and Infinity Ward bringing out Special Ops. These two things could be considered something called a USP, which is a unique selling point and not a pistol. So if Call of Duty throughout this entire period of growing pains was going from strength to strength, where did it all go wrong? Well, now we know what Call of Duty's strengths are. Now we can look at how it changed. You could argue that one of Call of Duty's biggest factors when it came to change was... You know, school, you might actually still be in it watching this video. I haven't been in school for over 10 years. I'm old. Age is scary. But do you remember that one kid who was just trying too hard to fit in? I could play chess. Checkmate. I'm good at football. My dad was Ronaldo. I can play drums. That's a guitar. My point is, it didn't matter how hard that person would try, they were never as good as the thing that they were trying to parrot. Well, it all started maybe with Call of Duty Ghosts. Call of Duty was kind of doing its own thing, going from strength to strength, USPs, until about 2012. Because in the background, there was a competitor that was slowly rising to fame behind Call of Duty. And that was Battlefield. What were you expecting, Medal of Honor to do that? Battlefield 4 comes around and it has a killer feature called Levolution. You can basically destroy everything. Enemies hiding on top of a skyscraper? Players hiding in a building and doing your tits in? Call of Duty looked at this and said, we have Levolution as well. Here it is. Why are you laughing? This rushed and half-baked counter to Levolution just wasn't Levolution. Levolution was entirely up to the player, whereas Ghosts, things would change in the map as the match went on. And some things that you could actually interact with were very limited, like, whoa, you knocked a gas station over. Watch out, everyone. Ghosts was a bit of a problem child because I genuinely think it had some good ideas. Extinction was not one of them. But the multiplayer aspect of creating your own character, which again, this pin, it's still bleeding. We are still going to come back to that because the personalization of Call of Duty Ghosts, it had legs. It had many legs. But all the good stuff that Ghosts did, limited though it was still trying to copy Battlefield's homework, and they did it so much worse. But the big problem is, this isn't the only time that Call of Duty just started to copy the competition. Instead of trying to one-up the competition, they just went, we'll do what you're doing. Waiter, one of his, please. By this point in history, Activision had now taken on 3 separate developers to make the duty calls. See, on the one hand, this is really, really good because you've got 3 different developers that are all working on the same franchise, and they're getting adequate time to build a game over what is at least a 2-year development cycle. But then the bad thing is that those developers could make something fantastic, and then the shareholders can come along and shit on it. 2014 comes around and Titanfall is released. Also releasing this year is Advanced Warfare. Pause for applause. There it is. And fans of each game are both pointed at each other saying, you copied my game! Oh, you copied my game! Weirdly enough, Advanced Warfare's sales were down 27% after Ghosts. Black Ops 3 came out and it doubled down on the Titanfall-esque movement, and this time also put in special operators, which fingers were pointed at parroting Overwatch. Yeah. And despite its commercial success,
Critics were quick to point out that this felt way less like a Black Ops and more like an even more Advanced Warfare.
it was around this time that players swore off Call of Duty because they were sick to death of this.
You don't know where I'm gone, do you?
Knock knock, who's there? It's 2016. Oh no. And so Infinite Warfare happened. Remember that one? Sales were down 50% from Black Ops 3, and Activision's cope was to say, well, Black Ops 3 had the Black Ops name attached to it, and that carries a lot of brand recognition, and Infinite Warfare is a sub-series. The game's not bad. Players said that enough is enough. They voted, largely with their wallets.
But we have these really, really cool baseball cards.
Stop trying so hard.
It's all I know how to do.
Call of Duty, for the first time in a long time, was forced to look at itself. So how do we save the series? I know. Let's go back to World War II. People didn't super like World War II, but you've got a problem here that kind of starts here. And that is that it's World War II. Why does my gun look like Mountain Dew? This, though, we're going to come back to. So put another pin in it. Why is it bleeding? But there's a single snowflake here that is going to snowball into an avalanche that will tear away at Call of Duty's identity in the years to come. Did you know that I have a Patreon? I do. And I read fan fiction on it.
They died in a car crash. They're a different color now.
Black Ops 4 was arguably the biggest turning point in Call of Duty's modern identity. Campaign stories are one of the pillars of Call of Duty's identity. Black Ops 4 developers did actually have a campaign almost finished in terms of writing before Activision kicked in the door and said, actually, I think maybe it would be a good idea if we put that scene in a different place. Yeah. Fortnite and PUBG! We need to be Fortnite and PUBG! You! What are you doing? I'm writing the campaign, you know, the thing that we do every year. You forgot rule number 1! You! What are you doing? Literally whatever you tell me to. Call of Duty gave up on one of its most identifiable features to follow and trend. Blackout was Call of Duty's first battle royale, and was it Fortnite? No. Was it PUBG? No. Made worse by the fact that it was rushed, it was full of bugs, like these ones. You know that episode of SpongeBob where everybody just wants SpongeBob to do the thing that SpongeBob is known for, and he does everything that isn't what people want?
Black Ops sucks big dick.
Yes, they did. And Call of Duty would never forget its campaign lunchbox ever again. That's obviously not to say that battle royales would completely fall flat with Call of Duty. I mean, hell, Warzone is a very good battle royale, except for the cheaters that are absolutely everywhere, and they're just better at the game. That's why they cheat, remember? It's because they're really, really good at the game. One of Call of Duty's biggest, if not the biggest modern moneymaker is unfortunately where things start to kind of fall apart when it comes to identity. So Fortnite. What kind of a game is Fortnite? Would you look at all that stuff?
They got battle royals here, like Fortnite, market racing, table world, party royal, legends, lightning, solo, duo, trio, squatting.
Point being that Fortnite is, at least now, sort of an everything game. Even in its beta state of being a battle royale and not its skibbity sigma Among Us amalgamation that it is. Now, as a battle royale, it has a huge lean on player personal battling with player choice and building things out of thin air with an art style that is Fortnite. The thing is, with Fortnite, you can kind of get away with doing anything because of the type of game that it is. You want to put Peter Griffin in there? Allow us. Goku, Thanos, Batman, John Wick. The thing is, though, because they're in Fortnite, none of these make you say, why is this here? Because Fortnite is Fortnite. In Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, the soft reboot, most of the cosmetics that were in that game all kind of looked like variants of military uniforms and believable cosmetic outfits that still had personality depending on the operator that you were playing as. Which I think shows that artists that are behind these games don't need to lean on the ridiculous, what the fuck?
A speckled cephalopod.
No big deal, fuck.
But then, money! Jigsaw, Leatherface, Ghostface.
Oh, I can't pull her out of this tailspin, sir!
Oh, phew, that was close. Uh-oh.
Hey, do you remember when Vanguard said that it was going to be a historically accurate World War II?
Do you speak Japanese?
Tracers that make people explode. Guns that are not guns. A fucking laser cannon in World War II. Now, here is a comprehensive breakdown of why you do not get away with that in Call of Duty. It's Call of Duty. Call of Duty did personalization right, in my opinion, the first time out in Ghosts. It was create a soldier. You could basically make whoever you wanted, including some of the biggest names that were in Call of Duty at that time. Call of Duty's backdrop is war. Their old slogan was "There is a soldier in all of us." There may be an argument to be made about the moral implications of creating a video game which is designed to be entertaining around World War II, a real-life global conflict. That's one thing, but how disrespectful is it to then take that same package and put Attack on Titan in it? Remember when Godzilla stormed the Reichstag in 1945? What a powerful moment in history that was for us all. F*** off. Call of Duty has innovated on its core gameplay with new game modes, new maps, interactive map elements, special modes, and bringing things in like Omni movement from the new Call of Duty, which completely changed how the game works. That's all fantastic, but leaning on things like trends and pop culture to do nothing but sell skins to you is not Call of Duty's identity. You cannot look me in the eye and tell me that among the likes of Captain Price and Soap McTavish, you should be able to find Ash Williams, Homelander, Nicki Minaj, 21 Savage, Lionel Messi, Pogba. Now, of course, all of this costs money. Everything that you see, if you see any of these in the game, means that somebody has paid for those things. Everything that I'm saying here all costs extra, in some cases up to £16. And if you see those in a game, well, that means that somebody has paid that money to Activision. I'm still reading names. If you see this in a game, if you are killed by this in a game, the person that you were just styled on has paid for this, which ultimately brings me on to my last point.
Don't be afraid to say no.
Just say no. Just say no.
The community have been complaining about these ridiculous tracer packs and skins for a good while now, but that's not going to change anything. These bundles are only going to exist as long as people are still buying them. This is only there because someone gave them money. That's right. You and me, we're the problem. Activision will listen to feedback, but they will listen more so to money. So long as people keep paying for these skins, they're going to continue to release them. And my own headcanon is that there are people in office whose job it is to see just how far they can push the terrible envelope.
Andrew. Yes, Dustin. Andrew, look at the one I just made. Do you want to see what I just made?
If you are watching this, it's probably because you agree with me that Call of Duty has lost its identity, but the only way to see any change is to vote with your wallet. I said we before because I'm guilty of it too.
Hell yeah, Evil Dead, I love Ash Williams.
Thanks for the 20 bandos.
Ooh, whoops.
At the end of the day, Activision is a business, and businesses need to make money, our money, to survive. And so long as we keep giving them money, we'll keep getting the things that we don't want, unless we stand together. Greed has poisoned our game's soul. Games that create abundance have left us in want. Our wallets have made us cynical, game chat hard and unkind. More than tracer packs, we need humanity. More than celebrities, we need integrity. Without these pillars, all will be lost. But to those still watching, I say, do not despair. The misery that is upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear innovation and progress. Players, don't give yourself in to brutes, shareholders who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your wallet, tell you what to buy, how to buy, and when to buy it, treat you like banks for money. You are not banks, you are men or women. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You do not hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Players, don't pay for misery, play for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within men, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you the people have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You the people have the power to make this game free and beautiful, to make this game a wonderful adventure. Now, let us use that power. Let us all unite. I did the great dictator speech again, didn't I? You did, yeah. I have a real problem. I'm so sorry. This video was made possible by these folks on Patreon. If you would like to have a say in what gets made on the channel next, go have a look on the Patreon, have a look at the benefits, which are these, and sign up if you fancy it. You can vote on videos, you get an exclusive podcast, behind the scenes looks at stuff, and some exclusive news that you don't get otherwise here on the channel. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Stag, you as always have been wonderful. Thank you for your continued support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.